So just before starting my presentation, I would like to introduce myself. I would like to say something about my works and projects in India so that you can understand with what kind of background I'm going to talk about the stone beads of South Asia today. So as Dr. Aben told you, I started my career as an archaeologist in South Asia in 1990. And it was excavations at Sahet, which is identified with Jetavana in Uttar Pradesh. And after that, I joined the excavation team at Shravasti, which is also known as Mahet. It is just close to the site of Sahet, but it's a huge urban center in North India. And actually, I belong to the Buddhism. As I am Buddhist. So, with that kind of background, I did some work on the Buddhist temples and the Buddhist archaeological sites in India and Pakistan as well. And then I started my work in Pakistan in working on the Indus civilization in 2004. And these are the pictures from Pakistan, especially the Peshawar, which is very known for its Indus archaeology. And then in 2007, I joined the Research Institute for Humanities and Nature, and I became a part of the excavation team in Haryana. This is a site of Girawad. It was the excavation, the results had been, was published in 2011. And Farmana is another site of my excavation. So it's also located in Haryana. So the report is also available. And then, I did some work at Kanzawa in Gujarat as well. So it's also a Harappan site in Gujarat. And this excavation gave me a very good experience to work on the stone beads of the Indus civilization. And I was also a part of the excavation of an Iron Age site in Haryana, which is called Medina. So we have got a number of painted gray ware, which characterizes the early first millennium BC. It's very important site in Haryana. And the site of Mitata, was a site which I was engaged for excavations between 2011 and 12. And then I came down to the South India, especially Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra as well. So I did a 4 years project on the South Indian megalithic culture. And at the same time, I'm doing so many things at the same time. So this is another important project for me. It's archaeological excavation and research in Bahrain, in the Persian Gulf. So at this moment, I am currently working on the 3rd millennium BC burial mounds. So from those burial mounds, I excavated many a kind of Harappan stone beads, including carnelians and agate. So, this experience is also giving me lots of ideas and insights on the stone beads made in South Asia. So with this kind of background, I'm going to talk about the stone beads in the Indian Peninsula, especially the megalithic culture. So this slide shows you gives you some idea on the diachronic developments of stone beads in South Asia. So the Indus civilization is well known for its, the established production of stone beads. So the stone beads of the Indus civilization was produced using different kinds of stones and skilled technology to make especially long beads. A number of the stone beads produced in the Indus were transported to the west, including Mesopotamia and the Arabian Peninsula. So it appears to me that the stone beads produced in the Indus were given high values in Southwestern Asia, not only in South Asia, but also in Mesopotamia, the Arabian Gulf, or maybe the Central Asia too. But the decline of the Indus urban society around the 1900 BC is likely to have caused stagnation in the stone bead production, but it became revitalized in the early first millennium BCE as the second urbanization in the Ganga Valley was developed. So the production technology may have been transferred from the Indus region as the bleaching technology of decorating beads, which had first developed in the Indus region, was one of the distinctive characteristics of the beads of the Iron Age. But still, we have a very limited number of evidence from the second millennium BCE, so it makes it difficult to examine how the bead production technology was transplanted from the Indus Valley to the Ganga Valley. So I mean, on the right of the screen, I mean, you can see the illustrations of the diachronic chart of stone beads. So in the uppermost column, I mean, in the uppermost part, I mean, you can see the beads from Indus civilization. And especially during the first millennium BCE, I mean, as urbanization in the Ganga Valley expanded to its surrounding regions, stone beads also became widespread across North India. So the middle part of the illustration on your right side. So especially the mid first millennium BC and late first millennium BC is a period when the stone bead production developed, I mean, to a large scale. So in our present data set, it seems likely that the appearance of stone beads in the Indian Peninsula is dated to the mid or late first millennium BCE. We don't have much carbon-14 dates from the megalithic sites. It makes it difficult to understand the dates of the stone beads from the Indian Peninsula. But still, I mean, based on some evidence from several sites, I mean, the date of the mid or late first millennium BCE is the period when the stone beads made its appearance in the Indian Peninsula. So the stone beads in the peninsula are characterized by the use of carnelian and rock crystal and the bleaching decoration across the region. So, I mean, across the Indian Peninsula, you can find a similar kind of beads, I mean, as I will discuss later. And while some of them may have been imported from North India, but most of them were produced locally in the peninsula because, I mean, we have several evidence from several sites in the Indian Peninsula of the production of beads. It seems likely that with the technological transfer from North India, the megalithic society developed its own style and established production and distribution system of stone beads across the region. Just give me a couple of seconds because my laptop freezed. Okay. Okay, so these are the stone beads from the Indus civilization. So in the in the left above, you can see some images of the stone beads from the Indus civilization period. So especially during this period, I mean, especially the very long beads, I mean, measuring more than 10 centimeters is a distinctive feature of the Indus beads. And the use of various stones and various materials is also the feature, I mean, distinctive feature of the Indus beads. So in the pie charts on your left below, I mean, you can see the pie charts of the materials and the stone varieties of stones used in the Indus civilization. So in numbers, the steatite is dominant, but still the carnelian, agate, jasper, chalcedony, amazonite, lapis lazuli are the very distinctive part of the stone bead assemblage of the Indus civilization. And when you look at the graph on your right, I mean, you can see the dimensions, I mean, the size of the bees, length and width. So during the Indus civilization period, based on, I mean, according to the different materials, different shapes and different sizes of bees were produced. So in the case of steatite bees, I mean, they were quite small and very, I mean, quite long one. But in the case of the agate bees, I mean, it has quite longer bees, I mean, around the 5 centimeter or so. And the only carnelian was used for making a longer bees. I mean, measuring 10 centimeters, 12 centimeters or so. So I mean, these are the distinctive features of the Indus bees. So these are the images of the drilling technologies used in the Indus civilization period. So the drilling technology of the Indus period is well known for its Arnestite drill, which is illustrated on your left below. So these are the examples from the site of Carmel in Gujarat. So I mean, this kind of stone drill was used for the Indus bees. So Professor Mark Kenoyer from the United States, I mean, has been discussing the importance of this kind of stone drills in the stone bead production of the Indus civilization. But my recent research on the stone beads from Gujarat and from Bahrain, I found that different type. I found a different type of stone drill quite predominantly used for stone bead production. So on your right end, you can see a bunch of images of the SEM from the SEM of the silicon impressions of the bead holes. So you can see a tapered profile in these images, and there are many distinctive parallel patterns, parallel striations across the hole. So this is, according to the Professor Mark Kenoyer, this can be identified as a solid copper drill. But towards the end of the Indus civilization period, around the 1900 BC, this kind of solid copper drill became predominant in the production of the stone beads. And this kind of drill has been identified in Gujarat and Bahrain and some other sites in Arabian Peninsula. So now we shall move on to the stone beads from the North Indian Iron Age. So still, the number of reported examples of beads, from this period is not so sufficient to understand the, entire characteristics or entire assemblage about the stone beads from this region. But as far as our current data set is concerned, the earliest ones date back to the early 1st millennium BCE, which is represented by the site of Naran in Uttar Pradesh. The stone beads of this stage are characterized by the presence of the breached decoration technology and geometric shapes. Just give me 2 seconds or so. So can everyone see the screen? The screen of my computer, is that okay?
Now the presentation is visible.
Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So actually, in North India, especially the stone beads from the early 1st millennium BCE are characterized by the presence of the breached decoration, as I told you, and the geometric shapes. The geometric shapes means that this kind of triangular beads and this kind of faceted beads as well. And sometimes we encounter this kind of square beads also. I tentatively call these shapes as geometric shapes in this presentation. So that kind of breach decoration technology and geometric shapes are the characteristics of the Iron Age beads of North India, and they continue as a distinctive feature to the later periods. So the examples from Atranjikera, also in Uttar Pradesh, also confirm these characteristics. So this phase can be defined as the development stage of the bead production in North India. And in relation to the beads of this period, this is not the main topic of this presentation, but still it is very interesting to see some carnelian beads found in Kazakhstan in Central Asia, which has this kind of breached decoration. So these carnelian beads were reported from burial mound in Kazakhstan, and they are dated to the mid-first millennium BCE. So it's very interesting fact to see the external connection between North India and Central Asia as early as this phase. And the beads from the late first millennium BCE, the 3rd century BC to the 1st century BC, which are represented by the evidence from Atranjikera, bead mound in Takshira, and Ahicchatra, they exhibit more developed breaching decorations, and widespread distribution of similar beads and designs across North India indicates the establishment of bead production and distribution system in North India. So maybe the production centers were dispersed to different parts of South Asia by this time, to respond to the greater increasing demand for the stone beads during this period. So in terms of material, carnelian, agate, and rock crystal, amethyst were widely used for beads during the North Indian Iron Age. And the breaching decoration, which was a characteristic feature of the beads of the Iron Age, it was declined by the beginning of the Christian era. The repertoire of materials and shapes continued to the 1st millennium CE, but so while the breaching decoration faded away by the end of the 1st millennium BCE, the basic feature of the stone beads continued to the 1st millennium CE or AD. And in terms of drilling technology, the use of diamond drill with a thin and straight profile is distinctive in North India. The use of abrasives is also common. So in this illustration, you can see many breached decorated beads here and there. And these are the examples from Takshira. So they all exhibit identical features, and that means the extensive area of North India was connected by stone beads. So this is the distribution map of the Iron Age South Asia. So you can see the distribution area of North Indian Iron Age beads. It's like this. So this is a Ganga plain, and actually some breached carnelian beads have been reported from Chandra capital as well. And when you go to Takshira, northern part of Pakistan, you can find a number of stone beads which are identical with the beads from North India. And these are the images of SEM observation of the silicon impression from the bead holes. So you can see you can distinctively see the straight profile like this. Very straight. There is no tapered profile. They are all straight. So that's a distinctive feature of the diamond drill, which was dominantly used in the Iron Age and early historic period. So these are the the drilling technology used in North India. And then, I am moving on to the beads from South India. That means the Indian Peninsula. So the internal chronology of the megalithic culture, or the diachronic changes of the material culture of the megalithic culture, has not been really revealed. Basically people believe that the megalithic culture started around the 1000 BC and continued down to the beginning of or end of the first millennium BC or somewhat later. But still, we have a very limited number of carbon-14 dates from secured contexts. So that's a big problem in our understanding of the megalithic beads. Still, a few carbon-14 dates from Kerala from a megalith, so point to the date of appearance of stone beads in the region around the mid or late first millennium BCE, or more exactly the 4th century BC, something like that. So, but still, there are many sites, with stone beads in the Indian Peninsular Megalithic culture. So, based on those evidence, unfortunately, they don't have a dates, but and they don't have been reported well. But still, the stone beads from this region are made of carnelian, many of which are decorated with the bleaching technique as well. Just as well as the beads from North India. And they are widely distributed across the peninsula. I will show you the distribution map in the next slide, but it's a very important fact. And the identity in shapes and decorations clearly points to a well-developed production and distribution system in the peninsula during the Iron Age. That means the megalithic period. And it indicates that the megalithic society created its own bead style that were widely shared. While some evidence demonstrates stone bead production local to different parts of the peninsula, as I told you before, the introduction of stone bead production technology was transferred from somewhere in North India based on the identical method of decoration of stone beads and quite similar drilling technology. So in this illustration, you can see the stone beads, the representative ones from different parts of Indian Peninsula. So on the top, you can see some beads from Maharashtra, and they are all decorated with the bleaching technology. And when you come down to the Karnataka, the number of the reported beads are quite limited in number, but still the similar type of stone beads are present in the state. Maski and Kadibakere are the examples from this region. And then, Tamil Nadu and in Kerala, there are many sites and many stone beads from the megalithic context. And they also exhibit the same kind of shapes and the same kind of decorations and the same kind of selection of materials dominated by the carnelian. So in this illustration, you can see from the northern end of the Indian Peninsula down to the southern tip of the peninsula, the quite identical stone beads were produced and distributed across the region. So, this is Indian Peninsula. So you can see the distribution of the Iron Age beads on this map. So you can see the carnelian beads from Coimbatore region and Kunkara, which I reported in my previous article. And Niramakram is also a very important site because the cyst burial from this site yielded this kind of carnelian beads, and at the same time the cyst burial provided the carbon-14 dates, dating to the 4th century BC. So that's the slight clue for dating the stone beads in Indian Peninsula. And even in Tamil Nadu also, there are many sites, many sites with stone beads. So the stone production technology in the peninsula was well developed in the sense that the shapes, dimension, and decorations were all standardized I mean, in this graph, I mean, you can see the size of stone beads. So, I mean, there are some, I mean, some clear pattern, I mean, in size. I mean, of course, I mean, there are small beads and the larger beads as well, but still the variations in shapes are quite consistent across the region. And the drilling technology, probably using solid copper drills along with abrasives, were dominant, at least in the southern part of the peninsula, because I mean, I have been working on the beads only from Tamil Nadu and Kerala at this moment. So I mean, in future, when I get the chance to work on the beads, I mean, the samples from northern part of the Indian Peninsula, the picture or the regional variation of the drilling technology will be more clearer. But still, I mean, this kind of preliminary examination of shapes and technologies, I mean, you can say that the well-developed interaction network among craftspeople who made stone beads in different parts of Indian Peninsula was established during the Iron Age. And actually, by the beginning of the Christian era, the solid copper drills, I mean, which was predominantly used for the stone beads from megalithic context, were replaced by diamond drills, I mean, which has a straight profile to make longer beads, as I explained to you in the section of North Indian beads. So of course, I mean, we need more samples from different parts of South Asia or the Indian Peninsula, but still, the preliminary observation can tell us about the widespread share or widespread sharing of the technology, drilling technology across the Indian Peninsula. And the disappearance of beads with breech decoration around the beginning of the Christian era is a phenomenon common to North India and South India. That means the Indian Peninsula. So that means, some kind of integration in terms of the bead production was established by the beginning of the Christian era, I mean, between North India and Indian Peninsula. So these are the SEM images of the silicon impressions of stone, the bead holes of stone beads from Indian Peninsula. So these are the examples from Nirmakram in Kerala, and these are the examples from Tamil Nadu, and these are also the examples from Tamil Nadu. But in these stone beads, especially the carnelian beads or bleached carnelian beads, I mean, you can see the same type of drilling technology or drills in these samples. So that they are all tapered and they have this kind of distinctive pattern of parallel striations. So, I mean, they clearly exhibit the same type of drilling technology was used, especially in the southern part of the Indian Peninsula. But the problem is these beads. I mean, they are made of rock crystal, and they are from the collection of the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, the University of Cambridge. And back in 1940s, these beads were brought from South India, but there is no provenance. There is no site. I mean, the record, I mean, documentation of the sites for these beads. But examining the drilling technology of these beads, I mean, you can see the use of diamond drills. So, I mean, unfortunately, we don't have the information about the provenance of these beads. I mean, the most probably from somewhere in Tamil Nadu, but still, we have to be careful. But the use of the diamond drill in these specimens indicates that the transition from these earlier type of drilling technology to this kind of diamond drills, I mean, happened sometime around the beginning of the Christian era. So that's a big question for further research. So, I mean, now I have come to the, the section of conclusion. So the widespread distribution of stone beads of uniform features indicates the social culture integration of the megalithic culture across the Indian Peninsula. And that kind of widespread distribution of stone beads was maintained by the local raw material exploitation and specialized production systems in the peninsula. It led to the emergence of social complexity and interregional interaction systems that connected different parts of the peninsula. So, I mean, the identical shapes of the beads and identical materials and the identical technologies, I mean, clearly indicates, the different parts of the Indian Peninsula were well connected or the strongly connected in terms of the production and the distribution system of stone beads. And these pieces of evidence exhibit the development of highly complex society characterized by the mobilization of labors, resources, and technology, and by the extensive interaction network during the megalithic period. So the megalithic society was much, much more complex, I mean, than we thought. And we need to reveal the complexity or social cultural complexity of the megalithic culture by our future research. And it appears to me that the interactions with North India gave some impacts on the introduction of stone bead styles and technology, suggesting the presence of interactions between North India and the Indian Peninsula during the Iron Age. Especially the focusing on the bleaching technology, both in North India and the Indian Peninsula, you can see the same technology used for making that kind of pattern. So that kind of technological transfer might have happened, I mean, sometimes in the mid-first millennium BCE. So the picture of the complex society of the megalithic culture emerging from my own study on stone beads is corroborated by a series of archaeological evidence, especially ceramics, iron production, and megalithic monuments. So for ceramics, the black and redware industry widely characterized the ceramic assemblage of the megalithic period. I mean, I think most of you know it very well. And not only its diagnostic production technique, I mean, black and red color, I mean, the colored pottery, but also the morphological features of the black and red ware exhibit the widespread styles and the production systems in the peninsula. So this is just an example of the widespread distribution of the black and red ware. I mean, this is a case of the bowls. So you can see the widespread distribution pattern of these kind of black and red ware vessels. So, I mean, when you look at the some other element, I mean, some other ceramic elements, you can find the same pattern. I mean, covering the entire entire area of the Indian Peninsula. That means, you can see the pattern connecting the different parts of the Indian Peninsula. So, I mean, also in the terms of the ceramic evidence, I mean, you can see the interconnections between the different regions in Indian Peninsula. And building megalithic monuments can also be regarded as a source of mobilizing labors, developing social unity and social power. So, I mean, to make a number of megalithic burials, of course, I mean, the great amount of labors were needed to construct them. So, I mean, that kind of, the megalithic monuments can be a very good archaeological marker for understanding the amount of labor invested in the construction of burial mounds or the megalithic monuments. So it seems to me that the social integration may be based on the micro-regional scale. Of course, I mean, different parts of the Indian Peninsula have different the megalithic types. So the megalithic monuments from the Vidarbha region is quite different from the megalithic monuments in Kerala. But still, actually, when you look at the ceramics and when you look at the stone beads, I mean, you can see the interconnections between the different parts of the Indian Peninsula. So maybe the interregional or intercommunal connections form the megalithic society at larger spatial scales. I mean, was the another aspect of the megalithic culture. So in this illustration, I mean, this is an example from Maharashtra, Vidarbha region, and you can see the dense distribution of the megalithic burials. That means a kind of cairns. And this is an example from Karnataka, and this example from Andhra Pradesh. And you can see the very complex feature and very complex feature of this megalithic monuments, and you can see, how great amount of labors was put in the construction of this megalithic culture. So I mean, the integrating these kinds of different kinds of evidence, I mean, we should focus on the complexity and well-developed society, I mean, complex society of the megalithic culture in by our archaeological studies in future. So thank you very much for your attention. I mean, this is my presentation.